Good morning, Cavaliers. I am Faith Beasley, and this is the first episode of a new podcast. Have you ever wondered what it was like to walk in the shoes of someone who has your dream job? Have you ever thought about whether or not the work you are doing now is worth it? Well, today at Cavalier Careers, I'm here to give you those answers. Today on Cav Careers, we have two special guests, Mo Kiley, Service Director for Sheehy Ford in Ashland, Managing Partner Paul Bavely. In addition, we have Caroline High School Senior Keegan Nevitt, who is interested in being a mechanic after high school and is currently working at Sheehy while he finishes up his high school career. Thank you all for coming to our studio today. Mo, how did you first get interested in the automotive industry? And as a service director, what do you do?
So I came to the automotive industry in 2016. There was nothing real special that got me into it, otherwise than having a family member that already was in the automotive industry. My sister worked at Sheehy Ford and suggested me coming in there as a service writer. And I had interviewed and was hired for the position, and that's where I started with Sheehy. Since then, I've moved up to the service manager spot and then service director role. As a service director, I oversee 58 direct employees that are mostly technicians and then service writers and some porters and administrative employees as well that report to me. And I oversee the daily service process for customers coming in, getting their car worked on and getting repairs done and regular maintenance.
Interesting. Paul, can you explain to us what a managing partner does?
Yeah, not much. So I oversee all operations of the dealership in all departments. So service, parts, accounting, and the sales department. And I do my best to keep everybody happy, hire good people. We're always on the outlook for good technicians. It's definitely a wanted position. So I try to keep the engine running and hopefully turn a small profit in the process.
That's cool. Mo, what are some of the most challenging situations you have to do during your job?
So my job kind of has two parts for challenging situations. The one that kind of hits every single day is our customer stuff. So it's a lot of customer facing, and customer satisfaction is kind of key to everything in the dealership world. But I'd say the most challenging part is really the kind of one-off things that happen with employees. They're really like family members. So when you're working with these guys and girls that work with us, we spend more time with them than we do with our actual families, at least in the daylight hours. So when we have any kind of loss or tough situations that happen with employees, as managers, me and Paul and other department heads get roped into those things quite a bit. That can be some of the most challenging stuff.
Yeah. Paul, how is it challenging to make sure that a car dealership runs smoothly?
It's a lot of work. I think the key is having great people. I'm certainly no genius, but I'm really good at surrounding myself with smarter people than me. It's a balancing act of inventories, gross profit, most importantly, keeping your employees happy. And as Mo just alluded to, that's probably the biggest challenge because you're just dealing with so many different personalities. And it's kind of just juggling those personalities and trying to alleviate any problem situations that may occur. Other than that, it's a lot of fun. It's a job that changes every day. It's a different scenery every day. So it's great business to be in.
That's good. Mo, what are some of the biggest challenges you face in hiring and keeping your employees?
So hiring employees is a significant challenge now for the service side. The technician role has become extremely skilled over the years as cars get more advanced and the development of the cars are just beyond what we have ever really seen. I mean, we've got so many computers on board now. It's not very much of just turning wrenches anymore. A lot of it is advanced diagnostic into electrical repairs and a lot of different circuitry that works together. What that means is that there's fewer technicians that are ready to go and ready to work on these things. It's pretty easy to find people that can change oil, rotate tires, which is a big part of what we do, but that's the basic maintenance. And when people have problems with their car, it takes a higher skill level to fix that. So over the years, the country's strayed away from trades and it's now coming back to it again, which is fantastic for our industry because we're starting to see students like Keegan that are able to work while they're in their senior year, junior year in high school. You have 4 kids or 5 kids from Caroline that are currently working. They're earning certifications to be technicians while they're working right now. That's helping to alleviate some of the challenge, but it still takes a long time to grow a technician. It can be anywhere from 6 months to 2 years before they're ready to be on their own, diagnosing cars and working on it. It's really important to get involved in this early so that we can have these guys ready to go as fast as possible rather than trying to find one that's already there that maybe just might be unhappy with where they work now. They're not as easy to get to come to you because you end up negotiating with them and they end up either getting a raise where they are and staying or they're talking to 5 or 6 other places. So it's not really a guaranteed thing.
That's really good. Paul, what is one of the most rewarding parts of your job?
That's a tough one. That's probably changed over the 20 plus years I've been in the business. So I first came to the business, I was a service advisor. So my first foray in was in service. And at that point, I was 21 years old, just out of college, and I needed a job and I needed an income. So at first, it was the income. I realized that if I was good at this job, I could do well for my age. Over the years growing through the business, that's changed significantly. Once I became a manager and then now a senior manager, I think it's the growth of the people that I work with, especially young folks coming into the business, seeing them absorb what we do, seeing them kind of delight in working in the automotive industry, and then the growth that they have throughout their careers. So really what I look for now is whether it's a department head of mine or somebody just starting out as a porter in service is kind of their trajectory within the dealership and watching them grow and succeed. And that's probably my favorite part.
That's really nice. So, Keegan, now that you've been at Sheehy for a while, what type of education or training is required? And has it helped you to become a mechanic? And also, what skills do you think are most important for a mechanic to have?
I would say, as of right now, I currently have a high school education, but BMO have been talking about it. I'm probably doing their STARS program, which I'm currently enrolled in. And for the training, it's really just trying to figure out how to use FDRS and IDS, knowing how to run the computer for doing like SPG stuff for parts and stuff like that. And then knowing how to close out a ticket, put parts on a ticket. And the skills I would say were probably most important were learning FDRS once again. That was probably one of the hardest things. It took me a while to learn.
That's our diagnostic software. So that's what he uses to like pinpoint down the tests and the codes and all the problems with the vehicle.
Learning that, my mentor right now, Rudy, has showed me a lot how to use that, and I can pretty much go on my own now and use FDRS and our IDS, which are the same thing, just IDS is for older vehicles, our FDRS is for newer vehicles.
Yeah. How do you guys think it has been partnering with Caroline High School, and have the students been helpful at Ford?
Oh, yeah, fantastic. I was a Caroline graduate, so I graduated from Caroline in '03. I've got 5 kids in the school system here. I got 3 in the high school right now. We've been very tight with Caroline County for years now with the auto program, going back to Mr. Anderson, now Mr. Johnson. You guys have grown so much in the CTE program, and it's been a fantastic partnership because we work with a lot of counties, with Henrico, with Hanover, and also with Louisa. Caroline's been just great. We've got a lot of students from here. They're hardworking kids that are ready to come in, and they really want to do this. We've got Abby Taylor graduated last year. She's in college right now, which is like a sponsorship program that we do for some students that want to get a further education and earn their technician certifications at the same time. So she's doing this with Tidewater Community College, and she's working for us full time while she's doing it, and it's going fantastic. So we got to keep you guys coming.
That's really cool.
Well, I think he said almost everything I could think of, but I would say certainly with Caroline and the other high schools that we work with, technician specifically is such a desired position for us where we don't see an overabundance of people coming to that position where we have the ability to fill spots when we want to. They are highly desired. Really, anyone we can talk to where we have people that are interested and, again, hardworking and want to come learn that skill, we're all in. Just very excited to be part of this, and it's bared a lot of fruit thus far. We've just expanded a new building at our facility with 20 additional bays. So we've got a lot of bays to put people in and work at, and Caroline's been a big part of that.
Keegan, how do you think that Ford and the other mechanics have welcomed you and been there for you?
Very well, I would say.
Don't lie.
I get along with everybody. I go to Mo pretty much about any questions I have, or my mentor, Rudy. I'm always with him every day of the week, sometimes Saturday if he is working a Saturday. I first started working with Seth. Me and him got along really well, and then I moved to Jacob in Quick Lane while he was still there, and now I'm with Rudy. I was with Ben for a while, but now I'm with Rudy and Diesel, and me and him get along very well. If you ever were over there, you might hear us yelling at each other a couple times in a nice way.
Ready to talk.
I know.
Sticking around.
But yeah, I would say being welcome there was very, very good. I had no bad experiences so far, and I don't expect to have any with how everybody is there. Everybody's nice, easygoing.
That's good. What do you guys think are the tools or equipment that you consider essential for a mechanic?
So technician tools, there's a decent amount of tools, like the specialty tools that the dealerships will always provide. Those are the ones that like basically engineers have to build to make a certain type of tool that does something very, very specific for like a single model of Ford vehicle. The technicians are responsible for their own tools in the sense that they get their toolbox and they get to kind of pick which tools they like the best, whether it's Matco, Snap-on. We have tool vendors that come out. It's kind of a personalized thing. It's almost like dentists probably have their own special like tool sets that they use. Technicians are very similar to that. Most of these guys are highly organized. They have these big, beautiful, expensive toolboxes, and it's one of the biggest expenses that they have in their career. They don't necessarily need college experience to do it, so they're not coming out with $60,000 in college loans. But over the course of a 10-year career, they probably accrue between their box and their tools about $50,000 worth of tool expenses, and that's what allows them to do their jobs at what's called flat rate, where they're able to do the job quickly and the correct way.
Keegan, do you have a particular type of vehicle or repair you're most interested in specializing in?
Yes, so as I mentioned before, I'm currently on the diesel side of Sheehy, and I love it. Doing transmissions and engines with Rudy, he makes it very easy, and he's very good at explaining how it's done. And I would probably say the one thing I want to specialize in is we don't do much internal engine stuff with diesels anymore, but doing like the engine replacements and transmission replacements, and every so often we might get like a transmission rebuild, but it's very rare. But when we do it, Rudy has showed me how to do it, and I'm pretty confident I can do it myself.
That's pretty cool. Mo, how do you think the automotive industry has changed over the years, especially with the rise of electric cars and hybrid technology?
So it's changed pretty significantly, the electric vehicles, and it's still changing actively as we're seeing a lot of like the mandates kind of go away on the electric vehicles. They're now going kind of backwards a little bit. I think despite that, the technology is always changing when it comes to the type of vehicles that we're going to be working on. Electric vehicles bring a lot of really cool stuff to the table, but it's a different type of work. There's a lot more like modules and electronics in the vehicles and a lot fewer hard parts, which kind of goes to the technician training level that needs to be a whole different scale than it was before to troubleshoot some of these things. A lot of it comes down to unit replacements when it might be like a electric motor. It's kind of a sealed thing now, so there's not a lot to fix on it as far as a repair goes, but it's figuring out what needs to be replaced and then getting that stuff taken care of.
Going back to tools, Keegan, do you have a favorite tool maker, and if so, who is it?
You'll get a discount.
Yeah.
So he's not really a tool maker like Snap-on, but his tool truck name is Element Truck. His name's Austin. He runs his own truck and he comes by. All his tools are at a really good price with very good quality. It's the same quality as like Matco and Snap-on. It's just before they rebrand them. I typically buy off him, but I would say my favorite tool, like actual tool to use, is my Milwaukee stubby impacts. But I would say L&M Truck is probably my favorite truck to go on. That's what has most of my money.
The different trucks are great. Now, Snap-on does a student thing too for any students that are going to be listening to this that are in the automotive programs, whether you're in high school or college. If you were enrolled in a tech class, you get 50% off any Snap-on tools, which is huge because by far the most expensive and like the best of the best tools. So there's some good deals they have out there for students.
Yeah.
Hopefully Johnson's listening.
Yeah.
Maybe he can get a Snap-on deal for
There you
us.
go. Yeah.
That's really nice. Keegan, how do you plan on balancing hands-on work with the tech aspect of automotive repair?
I would say the hands-on compared to all the like technology stuff in the cars now, we still have to have someone to go in and replace like the computer parts like PCM and all that. So it's really just running what we have called a pinpoint test and figuring out which module is bad and when we have to replace it. We don't see it much on the diesel side as we do on the gas side. They don't make electric F250s, 350s, and higher. But I would say mainly just the pinpoint test to figure out which module is bad or which battery cell's bad in the hybrid vehicles, because our pinpoint test can tell us exactly which cell is bad if it's like cell 1 or cell 8. So it's really just running the test and seeing which module we have to replace to get it right.
Cool. Mo, can you explain a difficult repair or situation that required creative problem solving? What do you or your mechanics can't fix in a car for whatever reason?
So there's definitely some repairs that get really, really strange. So these things are made by people in factories. I mean, there's a lot of machines and robots that are a part of it, but human error is always something that's going to pop up. We see it sometimes on newer vehicles. People have heard about things called like lemon laws, where there's a vehicle that is take like 3 tries to fix the same thing, and the manufacturer ends up having to like buy it back, which does happen sometimes. Typically, a lot of those things can be chased back to diagnostics that maybe were either incomplete, or we see it more when the vehicle first comes out and there's not a whole lot of like repair support for it. So that means like the engineering team hasn't put out full manuals yet for like how to figure out what's going on. So, first model year of a new vehicle, there's a lot of times where it can be really, really tough, and you got to get creative to find out what's going on, because there just hasn't been that many failures yet. The vehicle's only been on the road for 6 months. So people are just starting to hit 10,000, 15,000 miles for the first time, and you're finding new things. Ford gives us a really great route. We're very much in contact with our field service engineers, and they help us out with a lot of things. We just recently fixed a camper. It was like a 33-foot long Class A mobile home that had to get sent to us from another dealership that could not figure it out, couldn't get it fixed. We have a really good relationship with our field service engineer. They sent it to us, and we have some different things that other dealers don't. With our new building that Paul had mentioned, we have these things called mobile columns that can lift up a fire truck or a school bus by the wheels, and it just lifts it right up in the air. So it's a different type of lift setup. And we were able to get this camper up in the air and get it onto these special jack stands. And we had to run it at like 70 miles an hour to get this intermittent signal error from a tone ring in the axle. It took a while, but it was definitely an outside the box diagnostic when you've got a 30,000 pound vehicle in the air and you're running the tires at 70 miles an hour. So, but that's what it took to get the electrical signals that the technicians could then use to determine the failure.
It's interesting. Have either of you ever dealt with a situation where the customer didn't understand the need for a particular repair, and how do you explain these things to them?
No, never happens. Never.
Yes, that happens quite often, especially when some of the repairs are kind of invisible to the customers. And especially when you have the vehicle in the back and they check in and they're like, "Hey, my light's on," and then someone comes back to them, a few hours later and says, "Hey, it's going to be $4,000 to make that light shut off." That could be a very, very difficult thing to explain to someone, especially if they don't have much background information on vehicles. The best thing is we really try to break it down, and that's why we have a service writer position. Keegan is very eloquent, especially for a younger mechanic technician that's doing this. Not all of our techs are people. So we tend to keep them in the back, and we have the service writers or advisors that can kind of translate from technician talk into customer speak. And they do a really, really good job of kind of coming up with any kind of analogies they can or explaining it. We also offer like full transparency. We do technician videos.
That's been a big thing.
Yeah, that's been huge.
Videos has been huge.
As the technicians are figuring out what's going on in the diagnostic process, they're recording the results, and then that gets sent to the customers. Whether it's a shot at the computer screen, showing those pinpoint tests, showing what's wrong, showing the broken part that we found, and it helps them understand, especially if they're not familiar with what those parts are. So show and tell is like one of the ways that we really try to overcome that obstacle.
That's been game changing since we started doing that. It really gives the customer the perspective of the technician. They can see what's wrong if it's something, physically broken on the vehicle, or at least they can see the electrical codes that we're seeing. They can show them, bent wires, all that. And it gives the customer that physical perspective of, oh, yes, there is something wrong. I need this fixed. That's why I'm spending money. Whereas before, it was essentially convincing them, like, here's what we found. I know you can't see it, touch it, and have no idea what I'm talking about, but that'll be $400. And that's the tough thing for a lot of customers. Not many people are super excited to come in on the service side of our business because usually something's wrong and they've bought this vehicle to work and get them to and from wherever they need to go. So when something goes wrong, it becomes an inconvenient task. But with the videos and being able to show them what is all involved, that has changed the game significantly. When did we start doing that?
We did it, I want to say it was December of 23.
Yeah.
Right around
after we were told not to.
Yes, yeah, we were shut down on that idea first.
So how do you get the videos to the customers?
We have two different programs that we use. One of them is called like Text to Drive. It's an app that the techs have on their phone. So it took a lot of training and coordination and getting them on board with it because anything new, especially for technicians, seems to be scary. So it was out of their comfort zone a little bit. They narrate the videos, they talk, but it sends it by text message link. So they're able to pull the repair order up, and then the app has some nice little features for video. They can record it. It shoots them a link that they're able to check. So the buffering's already done. They don't have to wait for it to load. They open the link up, and it even gives them like subtitles on there. So it got some AI on that helps with overcoming any of those kind of problems where you might not be able to hear them real well. It shuts out some background noise so that you don't hear the air hammers and drills running in the background. And it makes a nice clean video for the customer.
So who specifically makes those videos?
So the technicians do. They do the video, and we try to keep them to a like 30-second to about a minute and a half so that it's not so droning on that the customer is like, okay, I'm not going to watch any of these again because that was 6 minutes I can't get back. We try to keep it kind of narrowed down to the diagnostic and then the recommendations. If we find anything else, if we see something that's broken, nail in a tire, we review those things with them, and it goes directly from the tech to the customer. Usually in the time period it takes for the customer to get the video, the advisor has had a chance to put together their recommendation list so they can give them an estimate for the pricing or if it's going to be handled by their warranty company, and then that way they can reach out to the customer about the same time and let them know.
Interesting. Keegan, what kind of challenges do you think that you'll face when dealing with customers and their vehicles?
So that one's pretty hard to answer. The technicians really don't deal with the customers much. Like the last time I saw a customer in the shop was probably when me and you had to deal with that transmission that had the crack in it, and we told the customer, and
Yeah.
he still tried coming back. But besides that, we really don't deal with customers in the back much. It's mainly the advisors and like Mo. They're really the people that deal with the customers and tell them what's going on.
Keegan gets to deal with the vehicle side. Now, with the diesels, their vehicle side, it's not like working on the regular line where, you're seeing a Ford Escape's a Ford Escape. And yeah, there's like 8 different models of it, but they're not lifted, jacked up, and modified and crazy stuff. On the diesels, the commercial vehicles come in a million different configurations depending on what company that they're being used for. So one day he could be working on like a souped up F-350 that's covered in mud because Billy Bob took it through the cornfield. Or the next day, it's a truck that's got 18 ladders on top of it because it's a roofing company's truck, or it's a box truck that's got all sorts of different specialized equipment that's been mounted on it. So it really changes on the side for them commercial wise because their customers come from all over. Ford has the most amount of commercial vehicles on the road, and they're very, very specific for the industry that they're set up for.
And especially now that we're doing stuff with campers and everything, we see a lot more campers coming in. On the diesel side, we work on, like he said, a variety of things.
Interesting. Do either of you have advice that you would give to someone who wants to pursue a career in the automotive industry? And what do you think are the most common misconceptions people have about mechanics?
Well, on the mechanical side, we like to call them technicians, by the way. That's a common misconception. I think Mo had touched on this earlier in the podcast, but growing up myself, I remember going to high school and remember getting sat down with an advisor about going to college and kind of that conversation of, well, you don't want to end up doing this, and pointing to a poster hanging on the wall that was like a mechanic at the time looking all greasy and dirty. And it's one of those posters that says, work smart, not hard, or whatever. Everything that Mike Rowe basically says on Dirty Jobs is true. We were told that you had to go to college if you were going to get a position of anything of worth, and that's simply not true, certainly on the technician side. I mean, what I see is the ability to learn a trade, a desired trade. And when I say that we need technicians, I don't want to undersell that.
Mhm.
It is an absolute dire situation that we need people coming to this trade. It's just not going to go away. It's going to become more and more prominent. And as far as a position, again, you can learn this trade. You can come out of high school ready to go. You can be 20 years old. And if you work your tail off, you're looking at a 6-figure income quickly if you want to work hard. You're also looking at an income that if you want to move to Kansas, California, Alaska, wherever you want to go, you're going to have a job instantly. No one is going to say no. To me, it's a great position for people to pursue that are, mechanically inclined, certainly like working on cars. I'm not saying if you don't like cars and you don't like working on stuff and tinkering, probably not the job for you. It is very physically demanding, but it's a job you can take anywhere you want in the United States, have a position instantly, and make a fantastic income.
That's really nice.
In the OEMs, we're Ford. The Ford training, there's 3,000 Ford dealerships in the country. So like you said, you could literally go anywhere. And once you become a certified technician for a certain brand like Ford, you're a shoe-in. Like there's no Ford dealers that aren't looking for a technician right now that's certified, that has a spot to put them. And I mean, it really is a 6-figure income. The way that it works in the technician world is we're on this thing called flat rate style pay. So you're not paid just 8 hours for going to work every day. You can make 12, 15, 16 hours in a day because you get paid by the job. That takes time to get to the point, and it's from experience. The better you get at a job, the faster you can do it the right way. So if a job pays 5 hours and you can do it in 4, you still get paid 5 hours. At first, there's a learning curve to it, so it might take you 6 to do the job that takes 5 hours. And you might be the new guy who's watching someone else do it 2 hours faster than you, but they've also done it 1,000 more times than you, and they have all of those tools that they've purchased over their career that allow them to do it. I think that's one of the things that people don't realize, that you can write your own ticket in this career, in this industry, by being able to be extra productive. You get rewarded for being more productive. So if you can put out 12 hours worth of work in an 8-hour day, you get paid for 12 hours.
That's nice. Keegan, what excites you the most about entering the technician profession?
I would probably say I've always loved working on vehicles and I've always wanted to be a diesel mechanic. So when Mo brought up the idea to me of doing an apprenticeship there when I joined, I was like, awesome, let's do it. And now that I'm working with one of the people that I get along with the most at Sheehy, I've loved it ever since I've started.
That's good. Mo, what is your favorite part of your job?
Very much like Paul, it's watching our employees succeed and grow with what they're doing, whether it's going to flat rate for the first time after having done an apprenticeship for a while, whether it's moving up into a team leader position after having been on the line for a long time. Those little wins that we get to be part of with everybody is awesome. And it's just celebrating the little wins along the way. Sometimes it's a new advisor that sold their first big job and they're super excited. Watching their face light up when things start clicking and things are running the way they're supposed to, it's rewarding.
Mhm.
I would touch on, our customers too. Absolutely taking care of our customers. But as again, Mo kind of alluded to earlier, we see our customers in a very fleeting capacity. It's a couple hours, maybe once or twice a year versus technicians, service advisors, or sales. We see those people every day for 8 to 10 hours a day. I think that's why for both of us, it's such a big thing to see people grow in a position or move on even to another dealership or something in another capacity, and that we were a part of that. That's a big deal for us.
That's good. Do either of you have a memorable story where a sale, repair, or job didn't go as planned, and how did you handle it?
That we can tell here.
They never seem to go as planned. A lot of our industry is unplanned. For us, celebrating big sales on the service side, it's kind of six in one, half dozen in the other. We're excited when we get a big job because the techs get to do it, but it's also someone's car that's messed up. It's not like we're trying to celebrate that, oh, someone's vehicle's going to need this, and that. It's kind of the big stuff that doesn't go right is probably what takes up most of our day. And we deal with that a lot with customers because no one's ever expecting an engine repair. So a lot of hand holding through the process. It's a lot of communication with the customers when we're in the process on one of those. We've had one recently where we had the engine came in, we installed everything, and the engine that comes in is not good. We get an engine from the factory, you put it in, and we've been waiting for it for like 3 months, and the customer's been in a rental vehicle, and they've had to switch the rental vehicle out 2 times because the mileage on it gets too high, and the customer's frustrated, and you're trying to do everything you can, and the engine gets there, we install it, we go to start it up, and there's something wrong with it on the internal guts of the engine, which came from a factory across the country. And now you've got to call this customer and say, hey, look, we got the engine in, we've installed it, we've done everything that we possibly could right. It's not working. We have to get another one coming. So those are things that we face on a regular basis. And a lot of stuff that's outside our control. But we offer what we can to the customers, and we do everything we can to take care of them, whether it's providing them a vehicle to drive while we're waiting on the new part and getting it expedited, or working out something with another dealership to trade different parts for, an engine that they might have that they'd be willing to let go for us, and just making it happen. You got a lot of stuff to overcome every day.
Yeah. Keegan, are you interested in working for a company or running your own business someday?
Well, eventually, I would love to run like my own skid steer business, working doing like hydraulic lines, fuel lines, engine work on skid steers and like backhoes and stuff like that. I don't see myself opening up for diesel trucks, but I probably will work at Sheehy for a very long time doing that.
Like hearing that.
Do any of you have any tips for people to maintain their vehicles and avoid frequent visits to the mechanic?
Do your oil changes. Your scheduled maintenance is critical.
5,000 miles.
Yeah, right. The manufacturers have been really competing to see who can push out the maintenance like the longest on a lot of stuff. We feel in the service world that that's not a great idea. When you go like 10,000 or 15,000 mile between oil changes, most people aren't checking their own oil. They're not crawling under their own vehicle to look at their suspension components, to look at their brakes, to look at the other safety items. We recommend 5,000 mile intervals, and that way you have a professional going through your vehicle and looking at the safety components. They do what's called a multi-point inspection on it, where they check everything out, especially on newer vehicles when they're under warranty, to not have it at the dealership whenever you can. I mean, if they find something that's wrong with it, it's going to be free to fix it. So for at least your first 3 years or 5 years, get it in and get it looked at often when you do your oil changes. And that way, if something's wrong, it's fixed for free instead of on your dime later on.
That's smart.
I would say along those lines, if you have a light on or something, don't ignore it. Even if it's a yellow check engine light, it's probably not detrimental to move the car to us, but don't leave those on because eventually something will happen. And I would agree with what Mo said. Just make sure that you're doing your maintenance. And he's correct in the fact that the manufacturers are pushing the intervals out longer and longer. Certainly with oil technology and the technology on the vehicles, that's there, right? It can do that, but pay attention to your driving habits as well. Are you sitting in traffic every day to and from in a commute for an hour? Are you putting 200 miles on the car, commuting to work or wherever you got to go for that day every day? It depends a lot on the driving habits and what you're using that vehicle for. Is it on a construction site? Are you towing? A lot of those things go into it. And some people or customers may not think about that. So certainly err on the side of caution is what I would tell all customers. If you have a question, ask it. If you think there's an issue, bring it to our attention as soon as possible.
Yeah. Well, lastly, Keegan, what do you think is the most rewarding part of being a mechanic?
The friends and memories you make along the way.
Thank you.
Like I said, working with Rudy, me and him get along very well, and Mo's sister is actually his wife. That's the funny part.
Yeah, no, my sister's not my wife.
That's sounding weird.
That sounded
Wait, hold
strange.
on, yeah, that sounds very weird. Rudy's wife.
Yes, Rudy is my brother-in-law.
Yeah, there.
Truly a family business.
But me and him get along very well. Me and Mo get along very well. Normally, when I see Paul, we get along. But overall, it's really just the memories and friends you make along the way.
That's really nice. Well, thank you all, Mo, Paul, and Keegan, for joining me today on the podcast. This has been a production of the Mass Media class and Innovation at Caroline High School. Thank you for tuning in to Cav Careers. Stay curious, stay inspired, and keep the conversation going.